The Far Quest. The Chronicles of Cursoon. Book 1. By R. Jason Lynch. Copyright 2016, EMP 2023. All rights reserved. Chapter 13. Grinder. After Baleful finished telling how her skin had been burned by the sun, she seemed to awake from her thoughts.
"But that's enough about old Bogra,"
she said abruptly.
"I's want to know what happened to yours troll."
Cursoon blinked.
Oh.
He had been so taken in by her story that he completely forgot that he was telling one himself. Well, he started while trying to remember what he had been saying.
Let's see. The king sent 30 men to kill the troll.
"Ya done says all that."
Baleful growled.
Oh, right.
The bard flinched.
Sorry.
After a moment he mumbled,
Where was I?
"The king's men is all round the sleeping troll."
The giantess growled irritably, and the sound was like distant thunder. Cursoon stammered.
Oh, right. And with a word from their captain, they all stuck him with their spears at the same time, but this only served to awaken and enrage the troll. With great fury, he simply broke the iron chains they bound him with and brushed away their spears like the bristles from a blackberry bush. Seeing this, the men took out their swords, meaning to hold their ground, but the troll began to snatch them up in his rage. Some of the men he tore in two, others he smashed, and some he crushed between his huge teeth. Of all those mighty men, only one escaped to give an account of the slaughter before he also died at the king's feet.
Baleful growled a chuckle that easily betrayed her vile, morbid amusement.
"I's like this tale so far."
Ignoring the sinister expression upon the trollop's face, Cursoon went on with his story, hoping that in the telling he might save his own soul from another set of gnashing teeth.
The troll was so wroth that he swam the narrow bay and went through the kingdom, leaving such a trail of death and destruction in his wake that the kingdom's last state was far worse than its first. Now, at this same time, rumours began to spread across the land that there was a bard who also busied himself with the work of a warrior. It was said that he brought relief to countless souls, for the man bore on his right shoulder a mighty sword named by common men, the Sword Gleaming, the very same sword that had been shattered in battle over 1,000 years earlier. Thus, when the reports came to the King of Trawler's Keep's ears, they gave him hope, for many told that this warrior bard did not suffer from dragon fear and had even slain more than a few of the flying serpents.
"Wait, you're saying he killed dragons? Ha!
Baleful mocked with a snarl.
Even we trolls and trollops quake at the sigh of those mighty beasts. There's no way a little bard like you's killed any."
Cursoon decided this would be the ideal place to reveal the warrior bard's name, for he was sure Baleful would be less skeptical if she knew what man it was who did all these things.
Now this man was none other than Eversave, the sole son of the King of Heaven.
The name and title made a shiver of joy shoot up Cursoon's spine.
"Never heard of him."
The giantess snorted and gestured dismissively with a wave of her massive gray hand.
You've never heard of Eversave?
The bard replied with a note of bewilderment.
"I ain't got no time for foolish fables."
The trollop grumbled and shifted her huge weight impatiently.
"Now stop wasting time and tell old Bogra what happened next,"
she demanded with a deep, guttural growl. Cursoon quickly returned to his craft with new resolve. He meant to prove the virtues of Eversave to this skeptical and insolent hag.
Learning that Eversave lived within the realm of King Merciless, the ruler of Trawler's Keep sent his fastest messenger to beg that the king send the warrior bard to give him aid. Recognizing the danger, Merciless made this call for help into one of Eversave's 13 quests, and so the bard and his knights soon came to Trawler's Keep. When Eversave came to stand before the king, he was told about the many hardships caused by the troll. After his audience with the king was concluded, the warrior bard boarded the ferry with his knights and crossed to the Isle of Woe. Now, as soon as Eversave set his foot upon the shore, and even before his knights had time to step off the ferry, The troll came forth crashing out from the trees, throwing logs and stones as he came. Then one of the knights called to his lord, and when Eversave turned, the man threw his mighty sword to him. Catching Gleaming, the warrior bard unsheathed the weapon, and immediately a bright white light shone from the blade, for it is said that the sword Gleaming can sense the shadows of foe which hide within the hearts of the greyling races. With reckless abandon, the troll rushed forward, but before the giant could snatch up the warrior bard, Eversave leapt into the air, flipped over the giant, and slashed at the villain's neck with his shining blade. Eversave did all this in one flowing movement, and then landed upon his feet in a crouch. The troll stopped in his tracks, wobbled slightly, and then toppled over. His giant head rolled from him when he fell, and thus died the last of all the trolls.
Kurasoon added this last part out of habit, for that was how all the old songs told the tale. After the bard finished his story, there was a moment of awkward silence, and for the briefest of seconds, the bard was sure his hostess had been impressed by his story.
Bah!
Baleful scoffed.
What a pack of lies!
On my honor, the tale is true,
Kurasoon pledged.
Ha! You just said he was the last of the trolls.
As she said this, the giantess pointed at her own ugly face while raising an eyebrow. Kurasoon blinked and sputtered. This made Baleful burst into laughter.
No! No!
He began to protest over her rumbling amusement while wagging his index finger.
You're not a troll! You're a trollop!
He declared with that tone a person gets when they think they have won an argument on a technicality. Baleful's thunderous laughter twisted into terrible coughing. When the fit subsided, Kurasoon took advantage of the moment of quiet to drive his technicality home.
You're not a troll. You're a trollop,
he repeated with a frown. The giantess wiped black liquid from her lips with the back of her filthy hand and eyed the bard with open scorn.
Well, all right. But even if that part's wrong,
Kurasoon reluctantly conceded.
The rest is true enough.
All right then, if it's true. Was that troll's name?
She growled. The bard was baffled by the trollop's stubborn disbelief, and because of this, he struggled for a moment to remember what they called the troll.
Ha! That's what I thought.
Baleful laughed.
Yez making the whole thing up.
No,
Kurasoon objected.
you have to give me a moment to remember.
Bah!
The trollop sneered.
Yez just want time to make up a name.
Grinder!
The bard blurted.
Common men knew the giant by the name Grinder.
Inwardly, he wondered how this old hag could doubt his tale, or how she could have never heard of Eversave.
Grinder, eh?
Baleful echoed with a look of contemplation. After a moment, she added with a sneer.
It's a good tale, even if it's all a lie.
A lie?
The bard exclaimed, as his mouth dropped open, plainly showing his astonishment.
No little man can kill a troll with just one cut, much less a dragon with 1,000.
The giantess challenged jeeringly.
I's not fool enough to believe all that.
On my honor, the story is true, and as a bard, I'm forbidden to lie.
Kurasoon obstinately vowed.
Besides, it's all been carefully recorded in the sacred scrolls.
Sacred scrolls, eh?
She echoed with unrestrained suspicion.
All right then, show 'em to old Bagra.
Well, I don't have any copies with me here.
The bard replied with a shrug.
Yez ever really read 'em?
She pressed. Kurasoon sighed with a hint of frustration.
Well, not myself, but I've heard all the old songs, and they tell the story just the way I told it.
So yez believe a whole tale just because someone sang it to yez?
Baleful asked with a tone of astonishment. The bard only crossed his arms and cursed under his breath.
Broken strings.